Right. And okay, so welcome everyone to our week 2 of the STARS training. Today we're going to talk about consumerism as a continuation of last week's zero waste training. So the objectives for this session is I'm going to talk a little bit about consumerism as a concept and the history, as well as give a little story, follow with a group exercise. I was going to divide us into different groups, breakout groups, but since we're not that many, I'm thinking we can just have an open discussion at the end. And once we have done that, we can move over to a little pledge about consumerism. So, everyone's probably already pretty familiar of what consumerism is, and in very basic terms, it's just a movement that promotes the interests of the purchaser of goods and services. And it kind of started off as a rational activity. You know, you would use shoes and you would wear them off, and you would have to replace them eventually because you would have holes in them. So you would probably go to your local shoe shop to purchase new shoes. However, today we live in something that is coined as the consumer society, at least in the United States. And this has become a more deeper behavior that is like integrated into our cultural. For instance, the material that you consume can determine what type of status you have in our society. For instance, if you would have how many cars you drive might determine how successful you are considered to be compared to others. You will compare yourself with other people based on the size you have on your house. Maybe if you would be a family of 3, back in the days when the consumerism was a little bit more rational, you would think that, oh, maybe a 2-bedroom would be enough. But now you would see if someone has a big mansion, that would determine if they are at the top of our cultural hierarchy. And you would also believe that you will be satisfied once you consume this specific product. Once you purchase this, you will be more satisfied in life. And it's just this type of mindset that materialism is our identity, and the materials that we have can tell us who we are. And this way of thinking in the consumer society, as we know in the United States in this time of history, it's kind of started with the introduction of the Industrial Revolution. So it just transformed the way we produce materials. Motorism and machinery was introduced, so that enabled big factories to establish, and also new concept of wage and being paid hourly. It was a kind of new concept because previously in the more older value systems, it was very religion-based or traditional beliefs just in general. And this way of hourly pay and all these big machines, introduction of new technology, new vehicles, cars was introduced, even airplanes. It kind of just made this big shift in society, and people start to move because of the motivation for them to get paid hourly. They would move from the countryside into the cities with a rapid urbanization, and that kind of made the factories and machineries to expand even faster. And new introductions of advanced technology was introduced, like televisions. And because of all these factors, the rise of advertisement also occurred, which is a kind of new direction it's a new type of job position, and it didn't really exist before the Industrial Revolution, and this kind of intentionally created methodologies to persuade consumers into buying products, explaining why we might believe that we will be satisfied if we purchase these products. And so with that being said, now we do live in a global economy, which means that everyone and everything is highly interconnected and between each other in a process. So only like discussing the journey of the yellow t-shirt at Walmart, you have this t-shirt, and it's a lot of processes that goes into creating this t-shirt that maybe the consumer in Walmart might not think of when they go and purchase it. So in order to respond to the demand, the high demand of this t-shirt, Walmart, they obviously want profit. So they're gonna try to keep down the price of this production as much as possible. And let me do this so I can move this one. So since we live in a global society, they will have to outsource, maybe go somewhere where the economy is not as stable as the US dollar in the US. So let's say that they will sign an agreement with farmers in Thailand over here. And in order to reach the demand and high level of production of this t-shirt, they would have to mass produce cotton. But since cotton is only a part of this, because 100% cotton t-shirt would be too expensive to produce, they would later mix it with other compounds, but I will get into that just after I go through the farming process. So they would have to hire farmers, and they would then use pesticides in order to grow this crop as fast as possible with the biggest, maximize the production of it. So they would use pesticides like organophosphates, which is known to damage the nervous system. That is something that the farmers would get affected upon. And cotton is also, it needs a lot of irrigation to grow. So you would have to use a lot of water for this type of crop. And once you have grown the cotton, you would have to transport it all the way to the factory where you gonna mix it with the polyester. And that is emissions going into the atmosphere, carbon dioxide, and you also need labor in order to transport it. So that is a factor that you need to take in consideration as well. Someone's got to get paid to transport it to the next phase of the process. And then in this factory, you would need additional labor, and they would have to mix the cotton with polyester because it's most likely going to be 50% cotton and then 50% polyester. And polyester is a type of plastic. There's chemicals in it and compounds like petroleum and other heavy metals. And during the extraction and refinement of this material that you mix together, a lot of these things will be released, exposing the workers that are creating this. And once you're done with that material, you're gonna have to transport it again. And it's not most likely that the next stage of where you're gonna send the material is in the same country. So you would have to either ship it or fly it. Let's say that you fly it from Thailand to Indonesia, which is a lot of emissions going straight out in the atmosphere. You also need someone to transport it again, so that's more labor into the process. And then you will send it to a sewery because the mix of this material, the polyester and cotton, it's obviously not yellow. So you would have to bleach the material so that you later can color it the right color that you want. So that would be using chlorine, chromium, formaldehyde, all these type of chemicals that will be directly exposed to the workers that are doing it. And then once you have bleached it, you would have to color it. And since cotton is a very water-resistant crop, you would have to use a lot of coloring to get the right yellow color that you want. So that is a lot of coloring that goes to waste, straight into the waste system as well. And then once you're done with that, you will need more energy and labor to make it to this shape that you want. And when you're done with that, you will have to then transport it from Indonesia all the way to hopefully California. It could be some pit stops on the way as well, but hopefully it comes to the San Pedro labor if it's for Los Angeles, and you will have it, it will arrive here, and you will have to package it, which is a whole nother supply chain for that material as well. So that is taken in consideration of this as well, and even more labor and energy to allocate it to the right place that you want to ship it, and then the shipping carrier will pick it up, which is more emissions being released and more labor being taken in consideration in this process until it arrives at Walmart, where you will purchase it. And then you will purchase it, and it's most likely that you will use your private vehicle, which is more emissions, until it arrives to your household. And you would think that, okay, now most of the process of the pollution and all the labor that is taken in consideration will be finished, but it's kind of here, it starts over again, because once you have it in your household, you will have to use detergent and a lot of water when you clean it. And since it's produced as cheap as possible, it's mixed with polyester. The quality will not last for that long. So it will probably be finished after 10 washes. And every time you wash it, some of this coloring will be released and go straight into the waste system again. And yeah, after 10 washes, you might not want to use it anymore, because it's not what it doesn't look like the thing that you purchased. So you would want to throw it away. And since all these compounds, it's mixed together, it's going to be very hard to break it down and recycle the compounds in it that is recyclable. So it's most likely that they would just drive it to the landfill, and then it would just lay there, taking up space for, maybe it will break down a little bit because it's cotton, but it would take thousands of years. And that is more labor and pollution again from the emissions of the transportation. So let me play it up again. So with that being said, when you are in Walmart trying to buy a t-shirt, you might not really think about all the things that goes behind it. So when we talk about sustainability, we usually talk about these big 3 pillars. And if something is sustainable, that is if it has a balance with these 3 pillars. So we are somewhere around here. But because of the consumer society, most people prioritize the economic pillar rather than these ones, because this will keep the price down. When you go shopping at Walmart, you might pick the product based on its price, not because you know that the workers that created this t-shirt, they are being fairly compensated, and the environment is not being compromised during the production. So the consequences of that mindset is that we today are experiencing climate change. So from the environmental perspective, all that pollution that's being released during the production process, it raises the temperature in the atmosphere, which is kind of like creates this chain effect of all these factors. So the Arctic ice will melt, and then the sea levels will rise, and the moisture in the soil will evaporate because of the new heat, which will lead to soil erosion, and then we won't even have land to grow crops on anymore. And all of these effects leads to that our ecosystems collapse, and essential species will maybe even go extinct. Some of them already have. And the loss of biodiversity will just make this bad spiral intensify it, and we will have unpredictable effects like extreme weathers and natural disasters. And the other big pillar in sustainability brings out important questions, since the economic priority is the strongest, and the big corporations like Walmart, they're trying to keep their production prices down. And since you guys saw how long the process is, there's a lot of labor being taken into account when you create these products. So they will obviously try to keep the wages down as much as possible so that they actually profit from this t-shirt. And that would just create this big loop of inequality because they will also, it's also very likely that these people, due to respond to the demand of the consumer society, they will also give them a lot of hours to work with this minimum wage. So it's going to be hard for them to access education, because when will they have time to go to school, educate themselves, when they have to work for maybe 14+ hours a day. They also have to deal with all these cheap but toxic chemicals, which brings health issues and other safety concerns. The high motivation of responding to the high demand will motivate big multi-billionaire corporations to kind of break laws because they can afford it. So they will go to places and territories where laws might not be as stable and checked, and snatch land from indigenous peoples, and it's just this like negative loop, and the economic pillar would keep on being linear, which will just go upwards with the assumption that you can just consume more, and that will close the opportunities for small businesses and innovation and entrepreneurship, and kind of create this monopoly for the big corporations, and also give us less option of what to consume. So to continue on that, some of you might already be familiar with this, but this is the country overshoot day. So if we keep consuming in this linear process, we can see here that so this basically means that they have measured how fast each country used the resources that are available for 1 year in order for Earth to generate itself and restore the resources. And if we look here, we see that United States have done that already in March 13, which means if all countries in the world would want to consume and have a consumer society in the way the United States has it, we will need 5 more planets in order to respond to that demand. So I know this might sound depressing. So what are the solutions to this? So well, obviously it's about intentionally try to reduce your ecological footprint, and you can do that in different ways, but I would say that the most efficient way from the individual power that we have, because we are not the big multi-billionaire corporations, and it's going to be very hard for us to not adapt to their ways. So you will have to start with your individual power, and that means habitual change that will start as an individual and kind of like translate into your organizational practices that will stem out to the regional and eventually lead the global levels. And you got to start somewhere. You can't just wake up one day and go cold turkey because, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very deeply rooted in our cultures now to consume the way we're consuming. So you can start with these different dimensions of consumerism, and to start with, you can look for companies and businesses and products that are trying to turn more sustainable. And there are things like eco labels. I would say these three ones are pretty transparent. However, nothing is perfect because it's impossible to trace all those complex steps in the consumer process, production process to know that each step is actually being transparent and accountable in the reporting. But it's a start. It's better than not use. It's better than using products who doesn't have these certifications. And you can also look for corporations who has a transparent type of tracking system or reporting where they state their sustainability goals and standards. They practice corporate social responsibilities, which means that they try to either shift or they have shifted their practices towards becoming more sustainable. And when you're still on this first dimension of it, you can shift towards supporting more local businesses and small businesses. You can look for recycled and organic materials. So in this instance, you will go for a little bit more expensive, but 100% a t-shirt that is 100% cotton. And that would also be a long life product. So you could wash that one more than 10 times and it would still last. And then when you kind of have that habit, you can take a step further and go into a more deeper green consumerism. And then you really reflect about this behavioral change that you as an individual have the power to do. And you can evaluate the rate of consumption that you have, which means, would I even need a new yellow t-shirt, or can I use the white one that I have? And respond to these accountable and transparent factors. So the way the responsible businesses are tracking their their sustainability goals and standards, you can kind of do that with yourself because you already have the habit of consume somewhat green. And then you can eventually reach this authentic sustainability mindset, and you will have a better idea about the whole sustainability, like greening our businesses, so you can avoid greenwashing. As I mentioned, some corporations and businesses, they can get certifications, but they are actually not sustainable because they have just paid someone to get this certification. That's why I brought these three ones, because they are the ones most established, but you will see a lot of different types of green and environmental certifications, and some of them are just not true, and that is important to keep in mind. But it is overwhelming because this is a complicated process. So in the beginning, you can start with like the basic shift in your habits. And then you will eventually start supporting this circular economy. So you will only buy secondhand products, and you will only go to local sources and kind of have this top to down power of governance rather than right now being steered by these highly influential and big corporations. And what this means for us as CSUDH, as an organizational entity, we will look for the sustainability criteria. So just the pressure that you as a consumer can have on businesses to be transparent with their sustainability reporting. Same thing goes for us. So the Office of Sustainability is here because these UDH are trying to become more sustainable. And we do actually, my team and I are tracking our practices and our consumptions. So all of you guys can read about our reporting and our goals. We have a climate action plan that's accessible on our website. You can, when you purchase things for your department, look for the eco labels and environmental certifications. If you need to buy something new for your department, check first with the departments the other departments, because there are definitely leftovers laying around on campus. For instance, I have a new office. All of these things that I have a fridge, I have a microwave, I have a desk, I have a table. All of these things are things I have scavenged around from different departments that haven't been used. So they have just been laying around waiting to get thrown away. But you can just give these things new life. And now it's really convenient because I can keep my lunch right next to me and just microwave when I'm hungry. It's convenient too. And yeah, we do have a farmers market every Tuesday where we do support small businesses. So if you don't really go locally, you can just start here. We have the resource for it, which is not all organizations have that type of resource, so you should definitely use it. And we also have the thrift shop that Scarlett mentioned last session, every first Tuesday at that farmers market. So you can donate the clothes that you don't want, and you can even find things for free instead of going to Walmart. And this is just like to start this habitual change. There's so many different types of stores and businesses around this region and just in LA in general, where you can kind of implement this type of lifestyle. And we also have other resources available on our website. One of them are the green event checklist, because one of the biggest things that is going to be hard to turn green on this campus is the events. You use single-use plastics for the cups, and you use paper plates and stuff like that. So if you ever think about throwing an event, you can go through our green event checklist. In that way, also become more sustainable in your practices on your workplace here at CSUDH. And always use a reusable water bottle. We have so many different hydration stations accessible for all of us. And yeah, there's an importance to understand that this is something that will be processed, because we grew up to believe that the consumer society is the most prominent way culturally to live. But since we could get into it, we can also get out of it. So yeah, to just start with green consumerism and then just take it from there. And yeah, so based on all these things that I discussed, I was thinking that we could do a group exercise now for the remaining part of the session. So if I was going, as I said, I was going to divide us into breakout groups, but since we are only 8 participants, I'm thinking that we can just all lead this discussion together. So to start with, I'm gonna ask you guys what issue, based on everything I said, what issue areas can you think of on campus? For instance, maybe your department are wasting too much paper. Is there anything else you guys can think about? You can use both the chat and or unmute yourself.
I'll chime in.
Yes.
So my department, you said you nailed it with using too much paper.
Oh yeah.
And
I
it's
yeah.
a lot of my faculty are old school and they like to print everything. And I've been telling them, please post your syllabi on Canvas. There's no need to print, but I can't get them away from actually printing the syllabi.
Mhm.
And I don't know how to get them to change. I feel like if it came from a higher power,
Yeah.
telling them, you know what, we're not going to buy paper for your syllabi. You have to post it.
Exactly. So, all right. So let's talk about the campus.
Diane, I have a solution for that.
Yeah, go ahead, Jan.
So potentially what you could do is you can ask teachers to post their full syllabus on Canvas, and then you can have other just like one-page prints of the important information, such as the class time, the teacher contact information, and the tentative schedule that they actually hand out. And then that would be what you'd print. So instead of, not printing nothing, but now you're printing one page versus 6 pages per student.
Yeah, that is a very good idea. Um, basically, what I was thinking with this exercise is that we can use, because all of us are from different disciplines, which are very exciting because that means we will have different perspectives to kind of talk about the same issue. So if we focus on the issue of too much paper, we're using too much paper on this campus, uh, we we can together come up with different types of goals, or we can come up with one goal and then discuss the actions that we can do using our different backgrounds to reach this goal, because it needs to be realistic, right? Otherwise, it's not implementable. So, like, what would be the steps to reach the goal to use less paper? Chan had a really good idea. Is there anyone else who have any other ideas?
I have a quick idea, which is we, in my department, the Department of Communications, we as a faculty decided not to use paper for syllabi. We came up with an agreement to post everything on Canvas, and part of that was led by the department chair. So, Diana, I'm wondering if you could recruit your department chair to suggest that to the faculty so that you don't have to be the person trying to enforce that and it can be more of a collective decision.
Yes, she has. She's actually literally begged them not to. But again, it's those the old timers that are just set in their ways that they're used to, and I understand that they're used to printing it out.
So, if you guys can identify like the setbacks, which I feel like you kind of have, is there like a way you think that you could pers persuade, like not bribe, absolutely not bribe, but somehow um compromise, figure out some type of compromise for them to agree to to move forward with what you guys want to do.
Yeah, I did love the idea of just printing the first page with their contact information and maybe just the weekly schedule. Because a lot of the information on the syllabi I feel is same across our syllabi, because we even put the resource available to students. like even oral care is included in the syllabus. Also information that is available online as well. So I'm gonna push that for just the first page with the contact information and the weekly schedule and see if I can get that going.
Yeah, exactly. And as I mentioned, habitual change is it's one of the most hard things to succeed in, because it's so time it takes time to change people's mind, especially for people who have had the same habit throughout like the majority of their life. So I would say to start small and implement, kind of like put seeds down. It is at least like what has turned out to be the most successful long term, actually realistically. So to start with like these small seeds, spread out these seeds throughout the organization and kind of identify the main setbacks. So let's say it's a specific individual who is really opposed to the idea, and they get people on their side, how to kind of compromise something with that person, or alternatively, assemble people that have the same type of idea as you to kind of, it's gonna sound bad, but overthrow the power and influence of the person who has the strongest idea that influences they influence the situation more than your idea. It's all about this social dimension, and everything goes back to the social level and like the way we communicate with each other. So I I believe at least that it's all about identify those gaps in the whole, and try to address it, rather than just have it as a goal, but you actually have some type of action uh, socially to shift the idea or compromise it or somehow influence it. Okay. Oh, any other things that we can think about? We still have some time. Anyone else who wanna?
I was going to continue with Diane's conversation, which was about paper in the departments. So one of the things that I had done is I switched to doing online tests. The issue I'm having there now is with the AI stuff. It's making it hard for me to do online tests anymore. But I know Kelly Dottie has done where she'll have multiple sections. And so she'll print one test for each of the sections. And that way for one section and then use it in the other one. So she's actually cutting down on the amount of test printing she does. So that's something we can look at. Alternatively, too, is we can rethink how we, assess students. So for instance, my class, I'm doing visual projects at the end where they do a visual video presentation, which can be a big portion of their grade. So I don't have to give as many tests, or I don't have to do as many assignments. I do discussions online where the students interact with one another. So that helps with an assignment. And then finally, also, one of the things that my department has done is looked at textbooks. So one of my classes, I have an entirely electronic book, and in four of our two of our classes, which is about a third of our class offerings, are now purchased books. We purchased them for the students to use during class time. If they want, they can go check it out from the reference desk, or they can get an electronic copy, but in class, they have a paper copy to use.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's all great ideas. So just an interesting, I'm just interested to know, like, do you guys have any type of like platform within faculty where you guys discuss this type of ideas? Like, how do you guys communicate with each other? Do you have some type of
So one would be
meeting?
the faculty development communities from the Faculty Development Center. Another one is the alternative, no, that's it, ALS. It's the something, I can't remember what they stand for, but it's basically decreasing the amount of cost for classes. So it's a AL money symbol.
And affordable learning solution.
Thank you. Yeah, affordable learning solutions. So they're trying to do tasks that can make classrooms cheaper. And one of those could be they buy the books or they get electronic copies or digital copies for the students. And there's other things like that that we can think that actually sustainable and cheaper for students and the school, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah, that's really cool. So do you know like just on top of your head if there's any other um professor or lecturer who's also because based on you probably sharing this idea, if they have also like picked it up and are using that for their syllabus and classes as well.
So they have done majority of their affordable learning. For the textbooks, they're always looking for something online that's just available for free for download or their share. So in that aspect, they're great. Cutting the cost on the students, it's cutting the cost and cost and less waste for the department that they're hesitant on.
Yeah.
They're all for cutting the cost on the students. They're wonderful at that part.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys already like are on top of it in terms of like implementing action. So that's great. And I see that also Sharon, you raising your hand.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it seems like one of the challenges is just finding out what's the attachment to the paper syllabus, like what are they getting out of of having it? I mean, I kind of use that with my own sort of choices. Like, why am I using Amazon instead of going to a small business, right? Like, oh, it's because it's convenience and I don't have to get in my car. Like, and then are there like solutions for a replacement for like whatever the attachment to the paper syllabus is, I guess.
So I'm thinking that maybe one of the setbacks why people are opposed to the idea of going paperless or at least use less paper might be because they maybe need more education in like the digital world, how it works, because they're so used to using papers that they maybe haven't adapted to the big digital shift. And it might be a lack of just educating that group of people who are opposed to the idea. And a solution could be to create a resource for them where they can actually like learn um, and get used to shifting uh, having everything on paper to becoming more digital. I don't know, you guys are there every day, like in that spirit. Do you think that that might be a factor?
Yeah, for for my specific, I think it's just they grew up that way. They grew up again in getting everything in hard copy.
Mm-hmm.
And she also some of them also feel like if they don't give it to the student, like hand it to the student, they're not going to fully read it online. They're just going to skim through it. I have heard several reasons why they feel like they need to do the hard copy, and we do offer them with support. Our chair actually even does one-on-one training with them, and some of them have been great at taking her up on that. Like, I will show you how to post it on Canvas. I will show you what you can do in Canvas. Yeah, it's just, I really don't know how to convince. Maybe if we had a presentation from your department at one of the faculty meetings about, what it causes to all the waste and how we can reduce our
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, no, so you think that they maybe don't put the pieces together,
Right.
like the consequence of going, they just need someone to tell them like, oh, this is why it's important to use less paper.
Right. Because even though I mention it, I think they need to hear it from someone who's in the field.
Yeah, no, that will definitely be a step moving forward. I think that's a great idea. Maybe the Office of Sustainability can come at some point, and we can break it down, like the consequences out of it. That's a way to inform them, maybe through a new lens that they haven't thought about before. Kelly, I see you raising your hand.
I was going to say that I find it absolutely ridiculous that we need 17 things on our syllabi, and 10 of those things are the exact same for all of us. You know, they're the no plagiarism, your IT support, what we expect out of you in the way of computer literacy, you know, all of those things. And I have asked several different times of people who are attached to academic senate to say, look, why don't we put all of these things online? And then we could get our syllabi down to one page. Here's the information you specifically need about this class and me, and you know what I do with late assignments, and just the things that are specific to the class. And then on the other side could be the schedule, and then we would be down to a one-page syllabus, and then we just have somewhere on that for, you know, all of the campus policies. Here's the website, and go to this website to get it. It's just crazy that we all need to put these things on. My syllabi are like 7 pages long, and most of that is those required 17 things. So maybe the sustainability could go to and say, hey, we want to save paper, and we understand that a bunch of people print out their syllabi. Let's make their syllabi shorter. This is how we suggest doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of like when we have these discussions from all these different departments, that we can together come up with solutions how to actually, you know, poke that habitual change. So I think that uh we we definitely should try to make the big reach from the Office of Sustainability, make the bridge shorter, and have more involvement in the faculty processes for sure. So I think we're onto something here.
Yeah, but you have to go through the academic senate to do that. We're not allowed to do that on a department level, because it's the academic senate that has said these 17 things have to be on your syllabi.
Okay. Yeah, I'm writing it down. So
okay.
It's really interesting because yeah, I've only been here for I think 5 months. So this is even a learning process for me too. And I learned because I'm talking to you guys. So yeah, this is all really, I think this is a productive conversation for the real life issue of going paperless, you know, because that's not just an issue at CSUDH, that's just a global issue. So yeah, and do anyone else want to add something to the discussion before we move on over to making our pledges? Okay, so here. So to finish off this session, for anyone who wants, you can make this pledge. Me and Scarlett, we have obviously already done this pledge, but you can either unmute yourself and say it, or you can write it in the chat. You can add something too if you wanna make it more personal. Yeah. Go ahead, if you guys want to. See if someone has said anything in the chat in the meanwhile.
So I'm adding about recycling the clothes and reusing. So I've already planned to make my donation to the pop-up store next pop-up and see what I can myself use. So I'm making that pledge.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone else? Sharon is adding to the pledge to buy less on Amazon and buy more secondhand. Love that, Sharon. That's a great start. I'm giving people time in case they're typing something in the chat. Minerva is saying she's adding to the pledge to greatly decrease my online purchasing. Yep, that's a big one. That's great. I don't think so. Yeah, I will send all of this information, PowerPoints to you, so you can access the links for the green event checklist, and you can also access the resources of the references that I've used. And yeah, you can just email me here if you have any questions. And I will see you all next Thursday when we are going to have West Basin talking about water conservation next week. So that's a big one too. And yeah, thank you all for today's session.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Want to head over to LSU?
I really hope I recorded it.
It's recording.
Okay, thank God. Okay, yes. Let's go. I'm gonna stop sharing. Stop this session. All right, see you soon. Bye.